everybody. Before we jump into today's episode, we have two sponsors we want to say thank you to for supporting this show. The first one is Routine. You guys have heard me talk about Routine, honestly, back from the early days of the podcast, and it's still a product I use every single morning. They have a prompt for me here. I'm going to do a little impromptu on this ad read today because honestly, this is a product that I truly believe in. And so I'm just going to tell you guys exactly what I think and why. First and foremost, this is a stat that they shared, but when you sleep, you lose between a pound and a pound and a half of water. And most of that's just sweating while you sleep. I used to not know if that was actually true, to be honest. I felt like a pound to a pound and a half of water seemed like quite a bit while I slept. But the one thing I did constantly pay attention to when I started using Routine was just the fact that before using Routine, I always felt a little dehydrated in the morning. And I'm one of those people that when I get up really early usually. I work out. One of the first things I do is some form of fitness. It's just like what I do before everyone's awake. And so it's very easy for me to grab a coffee, pre-workout, an energy drink, something with caffeine in it, and just go. When I am good about using Routine, first, I basically they come in these little single serve packets. They contain half an organic lemon, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, Himalayan sea salt, all 6 essential electrolytes, and they have no sugar in them at all. A lot of hydration products are going to have sugar. So one of the things about Routine that I love is that there's no sugar in there. So when I am good about doing this consistently, I will take one of those single serve packets, I'll throw it in my mixer bottle, and whether I also put in a pre-workout or something with caffeine or I just drink that separately, I try to drink that first. And the days I do that, I do genuinely feel hydrated and just have a different form of clarity all morning. A lot of people have tried to make their own homemade versions of Routine, right? You see people they take a shot of the apple cider vinegar, they put a little sea salt, a little lemon in a drink. This is essentially that, but in a product that you can take with you on the go, have it ready for you first thing in the morning. I know me personally, when I'm groggy rolling out of bed, the last thing I want to do is, squeeze a lemon, cut lemons up, go get the apple cider vinegar, find my sea salt. I just rip this packet open, throw it in my water, drink it, and it's good to go. You can try yours today. If you haven't tried it yet and you've been listening to this podcast for years, just try the damn Routine. Give it a shot. You can use code ShaneWhite30 and get 30% off your first order. So you get 30% off by using code ShaneWhite30 and go to yourroutine.com. To make it even easier, I've added the link to yourroutine.com in the show notes. So just click on the show notes for this episode, click on the link to yourroutine.com, and don't forget to use code ShaneWhite30. All right, guys, today's episode is also brought to you by NeuroRoast. Again, I'm going to go a little off script here. NeuroRoast is a product that I also came across during this year of 2023. They are a coffee company that's helping you optimize your brain function and overall well-being. This is another product that, to be honest with you, when I first started working with it, I was a little on the fence. I was like, do I really want to have mushrooms in my coffee? Well, folks, I will tell you, when I use NeuroRoast, one of the things that has stood out to me the most is I'll back up. People that know me know that I have way too much caffeine, typically. One of the things this year I've done a good job of is cutting out alcohol. Not completely, but predominantly, I don't touch a lot of alcohol anymore. What I think I've actually done the other way, though, is add a lot more caffeine. So I do definitely drink too much caffeine. That's something I need to work on next year, is just trying to minimize how much of that. But NeuroRoast is something that has actually helped me because of the way they've formulated their coffee. Like, unlike regular coffee, which is still something I consume, but NeuroRoast specifically doesn't cause jitters or crashes. Mushroom coffee provides a more balanced and sustained energy, allowing you to stay focused and productive throughout the day. So the times I do use NeuroRoast, I'll be honest, I just don't feel that jittery, like, I'm jumping out of my chair or standing here at my desk jumping around feeling. So give NeuroRoast a try. They have some really good flavors. I'll be honest too, the two guys that started NeuroRoast are just really good dudes based out of New York, and they're hustling, and hopefully they can get some people to try NeuroRoast this holiday season by listening to this podcast. So for you folks who've been on the fence, I'm telling you, it tastes delicious. They've done a fantastic job of making this coffee not only be functional, but taste fantastic. And if you want to try NeuroRoast, you can use code ShaneWhite. So it's super simple, just ShaneWhite at checkout. you'll also get 30% off. So if you go to neuroroast.com, and once again, I have added that to the show notes. So just click into the show notes while you're listening to this episode. You can click on NeuroRoast link directly. Don't forget to use code just Shane White, and you'll get 30% off your order. Hope you guys love both these products. I'm trying to not only bring you guys products that I use, but that I believe in on the podcast. I'm not taking ad reads for any brands that I don't really believe in. So anyway, hope you guys love both those products, yourroutine.com and neuroroast.com. I've added those links to the show notes. Hope you guys love it. And I got an awesome guest coming up right after this. All right, we're back. Episode 3. 3 weeks in a row.
The streak.
Officially, it's a streak. This is a habit now.
Yep.
All right, we're going to talk about reviews today. So this will be applicable mainly to Amazon. You could probably apply this to other things, but this is really going to be all about reviews on Amazon. And I'll let you kick it off, Kyle. The big thing we're going to try to explain to everyone who doesn't maybe understand fully how it works is just how do reviews work on Amazon? How do you get more of them? How do you make sure you're following Amazon policies? Kind of just a general 101 of reviews.
Yeah. So reviews are important on Amazon. Obviously, we wouldn't be talking about it if they weren't. What we always talk about is ourselves in the consumer shoes. Shane, you and I talk about our wives shopping on Amazon quite frequently, but it's, item A with a 4.5-star review with 400 reviews versus item B with 4.5 stars, but it's got 30,000 reviews. Obviously, the conversion tends to be higher on the item that has more reviews. So how do we get more reviews? There's a couple of things that are noteworthy when it comes to reviews on Amazon. First and foremost is Amazon policies around how you can and cannot get reviews. In no shape or form can you offer promos, gifts in exchange for reviews. That's a hard stop. However, what you can do is you can ask for a review, but you can't incentivize them. So saying, hey, hope you love the product, leave us a review. That's fine. But saying, hey, hope you love the product, leave us a 5-star review, can't do that. So you have to be very, very generic in your ask.
And I think that's a specific call out for everyone listening. Mm-hmm. That one's a big one, right? Like that delineation between saying, did you like this? You can leave a review. Here's a link. Here's a QR code versus being specific on what you're asking, right? You also can't incentivize people to leave a review in return for money, free product, anything in like compensation.
Yeah. So the other thing that we always recommend, which is a great program typically, is Amazon Vine. So Amazon Vine is the only Amazon sanctioned review program where you can quickly drum up to 30 reviews for a new item. Amazon has some restrictions around what items are eligible. Essentially, when an item has more than 30 reviews, Vine is not an option for that item anymore. So we always recommend when you launch a new product, run Vine. I believe the enrollment fee is $250. It's worth it for 30 quick reviews. Vine reviewers are very fickle. It's
for sure.
Very funny to see some Vine reviews that come through because they're getting the product for free. And most of the time, if we're seeing 3, 2, or 1-star reviews, it's being noted that the price of the item is too high. But Vine reviewers didn't pay for it. So it sometimes makes things a little frustrating, but typically Vine reviewers are, if you're confident in the product, they're typically 4 or 5-star reviews. They're very robust. You're talking like a paragraph at least. Some of them will include photos or even videos. So to kind of go from no reviews on an item that's just launching on Amazon to 30 makes a big difference in conversion. So we always recommend you do it.
And I think too, if I jump in there with the Vine reviewers, the knock if anyone knows anything about Vine, the knock that is commonly said is people are really harsh. And so if you if you pay for 30 reviews, most of the time you're going to pay for it. Every now and then Amazon gives us some breaks and doesn't make us pay for it. But typically you're going to pay for it. It's $200, $250, depends on the time of the year. And if you send out 30 and you get some bad reviews or just some poorly worded reviews where someone's harsh, people get frustrated with that. But I would say, to your point, Kyle, when you launch a new product, specifically having 0 reviews or only a couple reviews, and then that jumping to 30 reviews, just that number in and of itself is a huge leap from just a overall brand awareness, legitimacy on site. If anyone shops it and they see, no reviews or a few reviews, nowadays on Amazon, it's getting harder and harder to get conversions when you don't have reviews. So it's really just a leapfrog to go from no reviews to a few reviews.
Yeah, and the next thing too that helps that most brands are aware of, but we still see brands that don't do this on site is variating your items together.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're selling a widget and that widget has 6 different flavors. All 6 of those flavors can live on one PDP. What that does is Amazon then combines the reviews from all 6 of those items into one kind of review pool. So if all 6 of those items have 10 reviews individually, you variate them together. Now it has 60. And the consumer on Amazon, the typical consumer, does not understand that if items are variated together, the reviews on that listing aren't for every item in that variation. They think that it's just that one item, which it's not.
Right.
So it's a bit of a gamification of reviews in the sense that you're just combining everything within your catalog.
Can you give everyone to listening, Kyle, who maybe has never heard the term variation, like for our X bar, for example, what would that look like for our X bar? Like what is the variation specifically? How does it look on site?
Sure. Yes. So essentially, you have a landing page that has several items under one PDP. So RX bar, for example, if you're selling a 12 pack and let's say you have 10 different flavors, all 10 of those flavors would live and be shoppable on one page. There's some best practices, and we'll probably do a video separately on variation because there's a million ways to do it wrong and a couple ways to do it right. But yeah, essentially you create one landing page for a number of items in your catalog. And that, from a reviews perspective, combines all those reviews together and makes it look like you have more reviews on that single item than you actually do.
Got it. Yeah. And I think that in and of itself, if you think about the way consumers shop, Kyle started with talking about, we mentioned this with our wives a lot. Some of the defaults, especially if you shop on mobile, that are easy, people click Prime and all of a sudden all you see are Prime eligible items. The next one I know I just inherently click. I don't know if you do this, Kyle, but I click 4 stars and above immediately. Like I just like a default I do now. And so it goes to show too, if you have no stars and someone clicks that, your item wouldn't even be seen. And then once you do get reviews, if it's below 4, you'd still be missing. So it is important to not only get the reviews, but get good quality reviews. For that reason, I think alone is just to make sure you're not just completely filtered out of the results for most consumers.
Yeah. And outside of Vine, we get this question a lot of, how do we gain more reviews? There's a number of ways that you can, I don't want to say buy reviews because Amazon's gotten much better at cracking down on agencies that specifically focus on that. But things like family and friends, right? There's a smart way you can go about it to get a few reviews. But generally speaking, asking for reviews, asking friends to purchase, Amazon's gotten pretty smart at flagging suspicious activity when it comes to reviews. So you got to run Vine. You got to be confident in the product that you're selling in the sense that, reviews are going to naturally flow to the item. The other thing too that you can also do is there's a number of different tools out there that will automate an email that Amazon sends to everyone who purchases your item, basically asking for a review, but that comes from Amazon. So it's an Amazon email. Very, very easy to delete that email, but there's a number of tools out there that are very cheap where you can automate that email process, which within Seller Central would take several clicks. And obviously you can't do that at scale if you're selling, 3,000 units a day. But that software would automate that email, which does help over time.
Right. And I would think, I think the macro takeaway for anyone listening today, and jump in here if you feel differently, but I know we've definitely had this consensus, is the fact that this theory of launching on Amazon and then the goal or the race being, let's get as many reviews as humanly possible tomorrow is really not at all anymore a sustainable way to get reviews. And honestly, it's a dangerous way to kind of go about it. Really, the goal of reviews for anyone trying to sell anything on Amazon is it's a slow and steady, never ending part of the growth cycle. You should be talking about reviews every week, every month. It's a great thing to track, make sure they're growing. And honestly, using those, not necessarily negative reviews, you can use the negative reviews, but using any reviews that maybe aren't even the best reviews that are perfect, that can also tell a lot about your product, things that you could improve. So we always tell our clients that, even when you get a lower star review, you can use it as an opportunity. There might be some nuggets in there that are true that clients or customers are just noticing in the product, but definitely taking it a low and steady, making sure you're focused on all the time is a better approach than trying to just hurry up and get 100 reviews, for example.
Yeah, you make a good point of just the insights you can pull from reviews. You can also be alarmed of, bigger issues potentially, like expired product, right? If you suddenly
Right.
see 3 reviews in a row of expired product, that would lead you down a rabbit hole to go take a look at your potential aging inventory. So yeah, the negative reviews are just as important as the positive ones. We try to always tell our clients, like, we get it. A negative review for an entrepreneur who's launching a CPG brand is a personal offense,
Yeah.
right? Like you can't help but take it personally, but they're going to come. You can't please everyone. There's always going to be someone who's complaining about the price or the ingredients, even though you can look at the ingredients before you buy it. But taking what you can from the negative reviews, using it to make tweaks potentially to the product, it's a treasure trove, honestly. So, I mean, to recap, reviews are massively important by variating, running Vine, being thoughtful about maybe a potential friends and family strategy. There's definitely ways to jumpstart reviews, but this idea of, how do you go from 0 to 30,000 reviews, quickly really doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, I think too, the brands and products that you see on site that have that many reviews, if there's software that Kyle and I use, but the average consumer probably doesn't look at this stuff. You look at how long they've been selling on site, and usually it's an extravagant amount. It's years and years and years. Like, they didn't get those quickly, so don't forget that as well.
Yep.
All right, man.
It's a long
Well,
game.
this was great. I hope everyone learned a little bit of something. If you ever want to learn more, by the way, you can email us directly, message us back on LinkedIn. Happy to chat and share what we know. And we'll be back next week with another episode.
Good. Thanks, everyone.